little bit more Tinto flavor. Today we're going to be having a look at three countries. The lovely Poland, which is obviously going to be a fan favorite because the Polish map nerd community is huge and passionate and with very good right to be. This is obviously the start of a little bit of a golden era for Poland with Casimir the Great just coming into power, and he's going to start building a bunch of towns and cities all over Poland, and it's a great time, great time. We're also having a look at Lithuania, which in 1337, of course, is the Remover faith rather than Catholic or Orthodox or whatever, Christian. And finally, Ruthenia, which is essentially going to be the tag that the likes of Kyiv is going to want to form. Of course, all three of these tags could potentially unite and form a single tag. And I think this is one of my favorite flags that I've seen so far. I can't show you it because it hasn't been shared publicly, and it's technically part of the game files, and that seems... I don't want to get in trouble, but I've picked out bits from online, Google images searching and stuff, and did a little bit of editing, and I'm gonna show you. Imagine that's your flag. Look, in the era of quartering flags, and like Spain is going crazy with quarters upon quarters upon quarters of flags, having this kind of, I don't know what you call this shape, curvy triangles, I don't know. I want to form. Look, I found it in the game files, and I mean you can tell that it's the Poland, Lithuania, Ruthenia, Commonwealth unity thing. It's so cool. I want to form this. This is not exactly what we found in the files because there's a little bit more color in the files. The eagle has a crown. The shield of St. whoever this is, I don't know. It has some color on it. St. Michael, I assume, his shield's got a bit of color on it. Essentially, I've done a bad job of showing you what it looks like, but it's really cool, and I want to try and form that tag because I like tags with cool flags. But anyway, we're going to start talking about Poland, Lithuania, and Ruthenia. But before we get to that, if you would like to pick up the game, which releases in like 2 weeks' time, then feel free to use my affiliate link in the comments and description, and obviously there's links to where to find this dev diary in the description as well if you are gonna have a look down there. Anyway, let's have a look. Today I'll be taking a look at the content for Poland, Lithuania, and Ruthenia. These are countries that have both individual and common unique content, which is the reason for tackling them together in the same Tinto flavor. So let's take a look at them now without further ado. One thing I will point out, Ruthenia obviously does not start the game on the map. And there are a couple of Ukrainians in my Discord that have asked me what is the flavor situation for the likes of Kyiv and the other various tags that are around there. And like Chernihiv and stuff, I couldn't find any, but I've been led to believe, obviously by this Tinto flavor and also otherwise, that there is content for these Ukrainian tags if you form Ruthenia. And also, I'm pretty sure that the flag of Ruthenia is the Trizub, which is, I mean, Trizub is just a cool freaking symbol, really, isn't it? I mean, I got one right there behind me. No, but obviously, it's a cool symbol. You have a cool flag. So forming Ruthenia is also something that I want to try and do, and we can maybe see what kind of flavor content they have for that as well. But anyway, on to Poland first. For centuries, the Kingdom of Poland has found itself amid dynastic successions, wars, and fluctuating borders. The current ruler, King Casimir III Piast, started his energetic reign in 1333, but despite his unification attempts, many of the Polish subjects remained defiant in an effort to safeguard their established autonomy against the new king's diplomatic moves. Nonetheless, eager to introduce legislative and social changes of relevance, King Casimir III has already established the rights of Jewish minority as well as the Polish peasants, earning him the title Peasant King. However, the war against the Teutonic Order rages on. This is changed. We'll get to that in a moment, but the Poles and the Teutons no longer start the game at war. So maybe this is a little outdated. Maybe it could be changed. I don't know. With King Casimir's fighting along Grand Duke Gediminaciu, bless you, against their common enemy, trying to gain back their occupied lands. Will he be able to establish a long-lasting peace in the border with the Teutonic Order, or to be able to continue his internal reforms, or shall the war continue ravaging the Polish lands? So we have the King of Poland here. I'm pretty sure this is Casimir the Great, right? Polls rise up and let me know. 1.1 million pops, 24 tax base. We've got Lesser and Greater Polish. There is a cabinet action that you can use to, I believe, just create Polish. It's not a cabinet action I've used too much, though. I'm going to have to look into seeing exactly how it works. Poland might actually be a fantastic use case for that, to see if I can form Polish as a culture. But either way, I'm pretty sure you're going to be having them pretty cheap to accept and tolerate and such. And they probably even start with a decent amount of cultural affinity towards one another. We also have some Kashubians and Silesian Germans. A lot of vassals. I know this one's Kazirk. I'm not sure about the other ones, but this one, I remember... It's got a dragon on it, so of course I know. But obviously, you also start with a bunch of truces, which is pretty uncommon. Bohemia, Teutonic Order, Lithuania, etc. Teutonic Order has a bunch of vassals. Yeah, lovely stuff. For Lithuania, they are situated between the lands of Poland and the mighty Golden Horde. The Grand Duchy of Lithuania has a proud history as one of the last bastions of paganism. Under the that guy's dynasty, the Lithuanian people have tasted success in expanding their domain to envelop parts of the Kievan Rus. However, growing pressure and an ongoing crusade spearheaded by the Teutonic Order, the Livonian Order, and the King of Bohemia serve as a grave reminder that religious friction may yet contribute to their demise. Various attempts to embrace the Catholic faith have proven unsuccessful, and the rising tensions across our borders threaten our stability. Definitely could use a wardrobe upgrade for Grand Duke Gediminus, because this doesn't look very remover pagan to me. This looks very like you're just trying to fit in with the Catholics. But he has obviously a lovely pseudo trizup, I guess this is. But yeah, this is the flag. This is this part, obviously, of the flag. Which is kind of cool. We have most of his pops are Auk Station. I've never heard of them before. We have also the Polatskians and the Samgutians and the Polesians. Most of his country is removable, but there's a lot of Orthodox and Catholic. This is very... You got some options here. Definitely got some options. And they are located here. And here's where the changes to the war setup is. Important setup change. Now, only the Teutonic Order and its subjects on one side, and Lithuania and the subjects on the other, will start in a war. More about that below. As for Ruthenia, and we have the Principality of Kiev here. Again, this is... I'm pretty sure this is St. Michael. I'm fairly sure. But again, that's the other part of the flag. Subjugated during the Mongol invasion, the principalities of the East remained in an uneasy relationship with their nominal overlord, the Golden Horde. While many princes still pay tribute collected by the Grand Prince of Vladimir Muscovy, others already threw off the shackles of the Tatar yoke. Between the ever-present Mongol threat and the increasing power of the Grand Principality of Muscovy, our nation must navigate a difficult web of diplomacy to prosper. But a successful country could stand to claim the desired legacy of old Kievan Rus. But be consistent. Be consistent. If you're going to call it here, then this should be here too. Just saying. Prince Theodor Yuriakovich is the ruler of Kiev at the start of the game. Most of his pops are Ruthenian, but he's got a large population of Polesians, Severians, and Mongolians as well. 829,000 with 24 tax base. Actually, really quite strong. Because if we have a gander back up here, 1 million pops for 32 tax base, and then Poland is slightly less. I mean, 1.1 million for 24. So having 24 with 200,000 less pops is they're pretty well built up compared to Poland, which is kind of cool. Shown here, Kyiv has made a recent change due to forum feedback and made Prince Theodore, whose origin is not very well known, to be part of the Rukids, as the most recent academic research points to. Very nice indeed. Cool. So, structural content for Poland. They have a couple of government reforms. They have the Szlachta as their nobility. The Duchwienectwo, nailed it. Clergy, I've stopped trying. But yeah, the nobles are very, very powerful. Unfortunately, I mean, for my playstyle at least, I like my burghers. But their burghers, talking about them, have the Polish merchant seal, giving max tax for burgher estate plus 5% and trade efficiency. Fantastic. This is going on every single time I play the game. This is, I mean, that's never getting turned off. It's so good. This is fantastic. Novi Fori gives minus 10 control. Progress to free subjects. This is never going on. This is being removed in every single game. Holy bad. That's awful. Minus 10 control is just nightmarish. Hell no. Invite German settlers enables the German migration events. Fantastic. Basically getting a bunch of lovely pops to join you. Max tax for peasant estate, minus 10 though, does kind of suck. Lithuania. They start with a free reform available for them. What do they have? They have patrimonialism, giving minus 50 estate power. Great! You'd think that's just fantastic. However, it comes with minus 10 estate satisfaction equilibrium. You can get around that if they don't have any power. Tax efficiency minus 10, though. Really bad. Minus 1 cabinet seat. Absolutely atrocious. I would not want to keep this. This is really, really quite terrible. As for Kyiv, looks like we're scrolling down too low, so we can't see the crown estates anymore. But we do have a new estate to look at, the Cossacks estate. Kievan Cossacks here, they have no power whatsoever, only 400 dudes in there, but they do have a privilege that apparently we are not going to see. Oh no, are we going to see it? We're going to see a bunch of them. Okay, well, let's have a look. The estate represents the different groups of Cossack people present in our country. Organizing themselves in semi-nomadic and semi-militarized groups, they live their own lives on the fringes of countries' administrations, but can serve them faithfully and to great use if given the appropriate incentives. In general, it's better for the government estate to have more power than the other estates. I mean, that part's obvious. Yeah, cool. So we have our Cossacks here. Only 400 of them, so they're not exactly super represented. But let's see what our privileges are. Allow free roaming, allows them to migrate. I mean, that's pretty easy to allow. Month of progress to decentralized. Not sure I would like that. Minus 15 cultural influence. Really not sure I'd like that. Sanctioned atamans, though. Totally tolerate that. That's efficiency of cabinet. I would take that every time. Actually, can we see what they had? No, because this one doesn't look like any of these. We also have protected faith, giving tolerance of heretic beliefs +1. It's kind of nice. Cossacks are a culture for pops, so they may grow and expand or not, both organically but also via events. The estate will be available for those Eastern European countries with any Cossack pops. It's also available sometimes when you, I don't know, just randomly. I've seen French Cossacks. I've seen English Cossacks. And it's been reported because it was a bug and it wasn't supposed to happen. Generally happens when there's like a rebellion and the rebellion leader is like apparently a member of the English Cossacks estate, which it didn't exist. But you know, I've seen it a few times. It was a bug, but I believe that's been fixed in our latest patch because I haven't seen it since. As for works of art in Krakow, we have the Gesta Principum Polonorum, the Bogorodicka, nailed it. Historia Polonica, the Biek, and the Gord Mater Polonia. We also have Gediminus's cap in Vilnius, the crown of the ruler, obviously, clearly. Magnificent crown has been enshrined as the most important regalia of the Lithuanian realm by the founder of the dynasty, Grand Duke, this guy, nailed it. For Kyiv, they have the Kyiv Pechersk Lavra, which is a magnum opus. Established in 1051 by the monks Anthony and Theodosius, the Kiev Pechesklaver, or Monastery of the Caves, is one of the oldest and most important centers of Eastern Orthodox Christianity. Built partly underground, its cave complexes served as both monastic dwellings and burial sites. Over time, it grew into a vast religious and cultural complex with theological study and manuscript production. By the 14th century, the Lavra was a central part of Kievan Rus spirituality and learning. So, advances time. For Poland, we have the Castellanowi. Nailed it. Prox cost, amazing modifier. Every time this comes up, I will say the same again. Love this modifier. I will search it out and reroute my advances tree. Like, you know, if I have a bunch of advances queued up and I unlock a new branch, you know, by embracing a new institution, I will cancel everything and then do it again so that I can get prox cost the fastest. It is that important. Also, please, Paradox, let me slide a new tech at the top of my list of my queue, please. That would be really nice. Corona Regni Polone, giving Diplo annexation cost and parliament-based support. This kind of makes me think that they want you to wait until the second age before you start integrating your vassals, which, I mean, sure, fair enough. I have Council of the Three Lands, giving the Council of the Three Lands. Hopefully they will say what that is. Our country has a long-standing history of accepting destitute and persecuted Jews. To that end, the Council will care for their needs and shield their rights that will only benefit our stability and spiritual strength. Fair enough. The Winged Hussars. Is there any more need saying? When the Winged Hussars arrived, come down the mountainside. Anyway, the Hussars were originally light cavalry troops used for scouting, but with the decline of the old feudal army, we have switched over to professional regiments. The newer heavy hussars will form the core of it. People will soon fear Poland's Winged Hussars. Hopefully there is, like, later tiers as well. Actually, tier 4, the 4th age. Yeah, I suppose that's that's not relatively early. It's kind of definitely in the mid game. But we have 4 bloody initiative, really good, which is higher than the base, and also morale damage up as well, which is awesome. Not very good in mountains. That's why they came down the mountainside. They didn't stay up there. They came down. Makes sense. Bad in wetlands, bad in jungles as well. Dressed in characteristic wings and donning illustrious armor, these cavalrymen are a force to be reckoned with when it comes to their powerful charges, dealing immense damage and shattering the enemy's morale. Fantastic. Also, in the next age, you can get late winged hussars, basically upgrading them to the newer age, do more combat damage. Their initiative is higher again as well. Yes, it is. And they still have the same morale damage. Fantastic. I love having unique units that then upgrade into better versions of the same unique units. I think that's fantastic. I love that. Beautiful, beautiful. For Lithuania, we have migrant opportunities, giving rural migration attraction, and towns and cities migration attraction. So to basically just have migration attraction 0.25 everywhere. That works. We have 2 realms, giving +1 culture capacity. That's a really good modifier if you're in a place that has a lot of cultures that aren't like, you know, my own personal culture is massive and I've got a lot of small ones. That's fine, you don't need this. But if they're all around about the same size, this comes in super handy, and it's such a rare form of modifier to get. Like, I could finish a game and still only have like 5, starting the game at like 2. So yeah, getting a +1 somewhere is really nice. We have Chancery Slavonic, which gives legislative efficiency. This is the rename of admin efficiency. It got renamed in the patch that we got 4 days ago. It's now called legislative efficiency, and it does the same thing. It still does the same thing, but we are still waiting for the tooltip to be upgraded, updated even. So it actually tells us that it reduces antagonism gain, rather than just telling us that it speeds up the speed at which one slots in privileges, which is instant. Yeah, the tooltip needs updating, but obviously you can't see that, and you probably won't see that, so it's fine. Suprimus Dux Lithuaniae, giving crown power. Love me some crown power. Fantastic. We have the Statues of Lithuania, gives a policy. The Statues of Lithuania are a set of 3 different legal reforms which gather, unify, and update the laws of the realm. Known for their harsh punishments and introduction of the death penalty, they're in line with many contemporary Western penal codes. Each crime is supposed to be punished the same regardless of the class of the person committing it, but in practice many disadvantages for the peasantry will be maintained. Lithuanian statutes will later inspire a similar form in Russia. So, what we have here, it's a legal code law, revoke privilege cost minus 10%. Awesome, love that. Progress decentralization of free subjects, also fantastic. I think I'll take that every single time. As for Ruthenian culture, we have the legacy of the Rus, giving plus 10% cultural tradition. The mother of Russian states, giving urban buildings cost, which is really quite nice. Prosperity recovery plus 0.5 is fantastic as well. Reuniting the Rus as well, giving monthly legitimacy and lower separatism. And then a Ruthenian state, giving you stability investment cost. Fantastic. Form countries view, and which you might spot a new feature, which is reform into republic and reform into theocracy. Absolutely amazing that these are finally here, but we're gonna go into the requirements because oh boy, the requirements are steep, very steep. And here, they found a developer comment about it as well. Like I said, these are incredibly steep costs. So, to reform into a republic, you need to have 95 plutocracy. Aristocracy is minus 95. 95 plutocracy is so difficult to get to. You basically, yeah, you need to max out your plutocracy and then you can become a republic. Oh boy, that's quite difficult. Or your burghers estate having, I mean, no, sorry, not or. It's you also need your burghers estate to be loyalty, more powerful, which is fine. This is not difficult. This though is maddeningly difficult. Theocracy, same deal, but you need minus 95 spiritualist. Actually, much easier because a lot of countries in Europe start at like pretty high spiritualism, and you can just give a bunch of clergy privileges. It's actually not that difficult. Not as difficult as it. Like this is insanely difficult for most European countries. This one not as difficult in comparison. And then if you want to know what it is to become a monarchy, it is the same but flipped. You need 95 aristocracy while being a republic and higher nobles, which is yeah, quite difficult. Quite difficult. Although one thing I have noticed, especially if you start as potentially like Milan, if you get your Republican tradition to 0, you kind of just flip into a monarchy. It seems a little easier to do it there. Or at least that was the case. I actually don't know if it's still the case. So maybe don't take that for a fact just yet. Not yet. Anyway, the formables. A formable Ruthenia with the Trizub, as I said. Centuries ago, the lands of the Rus was united under a single banner and ruled from the legendary city of Kiev. But then came the Mongol hordes, advancing from the Great Steppe, pillaging and burning. They destroyed our Kremlins, and the town fell one by one. Even Kiev itself could not avoid this fate. In terror, our people fled the plains of Rus and went north into the forests and hinterlands and the lands we today call Russia. Now, a new and arrogant city of the north is on the rise. You can fucking say that again. It draws in the petty states around it, and its ruler envisions a new Rus, a Rus centered in Moscow and not Kiev. However, we Ruthenians will not go silent into the pages of history. We will not allow newcomers and pretenders to claim the legacy of our forefathers. Kiev shall rise once again, and we shall restore it to the former glory and splendor. So too shall the Rus. Fantastic, love that flavor text. PLC and LPC formables, Poland, Lithuania, quartered. Ugh. No, we want this. We want this one. Anyway, it's a tier 3 formable country. Actually, what is Rus is also tier 3. Okay, so you can't do both. You get some possible advances here as well. Grant. Actually, do you say what formal stuff you get here? Unfortunately, it doesn't say that there is any advances for Ruthenia. Hopefully that changes. But you can get Grenadiers Europe, Winged Hussars. These are the Polish ones anyway that we saw already. Fair enough. But you need Krakow, Vilnius, and Warsaw, and 107 locations. Lithuania, Poland, of course, if you are Lithuania and you become the leader of that particular union, you get that as well. So, regarding narrative content, most of it has to be cut, unfortunately, because they've already hit 48 pitches out of the limit of 50 with just the structural content. However, they have hundreds of combined events for Poland, Lithuania, and the Ruthenian countries, and the Commonwealth, no matter who forms it. You can check specific numbers in the top right UI of the country overview at the start of the post. On top of those numbers, they have 29 DHEs more for the Commonwealth. So they're just going to tease today what's probably the most important asset for Poland that players may use to decide the fate of the country. Shall a compromise with the Schlachter be achieved? Shall the second-row plutocrats, portrayed as the burghers, be backed, or the crown be triumphant, defying the historical outcome? So you can push for aristocracy or push for plutocracy. The rise of the Schlachter, I think it's disaster? Yeah. The machinations of the internal politics are often interwoven with everlasting quest for power. The Schlachter have always styled themselves to be the prime protectors of our realm, always keen on keeping Poland and her interests at the forefront. However, it appears that absolute power corrupts absolutely, and they too have fallen victim to their naive ambitions. Not only have they rejected our primacy, but outright questioned the very legitimacy of our foundations. How dare they indeed. Nonetheless, there will be more specific content in the comments. Of course, we'll be able to see that. So, I believe that is the penultimate Tinto flavor, because there's Kilwa in Zimbabwe, and we know that Switzerland and the Hansa is the final one. Because, of course, the game is out bloody 2 weeks from now. There's some dev comments, though. We will have a look at those. So, starting off with, how likely is the union between Hungary and Poland to form? It's RNG-based, but this is from the multiplayer that they're all currently playing at the office. I know a little bit about this MP. I know some of the players in it. But obviously, Hungary is being played by Pavia, and he has the Kingdom of Poland as his in his union. Croatia obviously starts in the union. Bosnia is now a starting vassal. He has it down here. Transylvania, he's released it, and it's now a fiefdom. Moldavia is a march that happens via an event. Wallachia is a defensive league IO with him. And the Emperor is Upper Bavaria, and the Pope are his allies. Other people in this MP I know are the Roman Empire is a player, and they've been going a bit back and forth, I think. And I believe Yuan is playing as Flanders in this MP. Not that it makes any difference to this, but I know he's been playing a bit of Flanders in their little dev MPs, which is kind of cool. Is there a system to make Poland an elective monarchy after the death of Kazimierz, or is it handled by the rise of Schlachter? So, an event from 1550 to 1650, given certain triggers, we could potentially find ourselves in the elective monarchy, the shame, right? The trust, the shame. I have no idea how you pronounce this. Is it shame? Sejm? Sejm? I don't know. But you can potentially get the Sejm. And yeah, if this pops up for you, there is only one option. You will be giving the Golden Liberty to the Schlachter. Maximum taxes go down for the nobles. Honestly, in frickin' 1650, this is not relevant. Nor is this. I don't really care about either of these. But needing to get to 60 request support before you can pass your issues kind of sucks, and progress to aristocracy sucks. So, plus 200 power as well is mad. This is awful. This is terrible. Absolutely awful. And then you also get some elective succession as well, which lets, I believe, other people can support heirs. I've seen that button. I've not used it yet, and I assume it's that because obviously I've seen it in the game. Yeah, I don't know. We have the rule of the shame government reform as well, giving nobles even more power. Can't declare wars without CB. That's fine. A genuine impact for nobility plus 25. It's pretty decent, but I don't really want to pass any agendas for the nobility. Please raise Lithuania's rank up to a kingdom. I've seen this argument quite a bit. I quite like the reply here, though. He doesn't understand why it's not considered as such when the Grand Principality of Vladimir is, and beside that, Gendemus is a king. Lithuania had various principalities as vassals. It's quite large. Just fits for them to be considered as such. So, Pavi's saying it's working as designed, that they're not a kingdom. Personally did the research about it on academic articles. The obvious problem is that the rulers of Lithuania were adopting the Russian-style title of Grand Prince, which was not so easy to translate. However, it arises from the recorded documentation that in the negotiations between Gediminas and the Pope about his potential conversion to Catholicism, that he asked the Pope to be recognized and crowned as king. And after the conversation of the Grand Duke Jogaila, better known as Vladislav I Jagiello, that the country adopted the title of Grand Duchy of Lithuania, which it kept instead of becoming the Kingdom of Lithuania. Also, side comment, they obviously have an event chain about the Lithuanian conversion with 3 paths: Catholicism, Orthodoxy, or staying as remover, which is nice to have. And then, obviously, the book option is pretending to play along. Very nice indeed. Kind of off topic, I was wondering how big of a disadvantage it is to have a small primary culture, because I remember that acceptance is influenced by the pop ratio of the 2 cultures. So Pavi here, name dropping me. Anyway, it's more difficult, obviously, but you can play to assimilate other cultures into yours instead of accepting them. And I did, in fact, publish a video about it. It was less about I'm going to publish a video about how to do it, and more it was a part of an AAR video that I published. But yeah, if you want to see how I deal with the English culture as Wales, then check out mostly the final part of my Wales AAR, where I overtake the English in cultural supremacy in the British Isles, and had a good time there. So yeah, I mean, essentially what you're going to want to do is raise your cultural tradition by building theaters, building, I believe universities and libraries help with that as well. And obviously these are buildings that do nothing for you economically other than, I guess, provide a purchasing point for the books that you create. Stimulate the economy kind of way. But the buildings themselves don't give anything other than this culture tradition, which is, if you're not going for, cultural conversions and such, it's not that useful. But if you focus it and you get your cultural tradition higher, or cultural influence higher than their cultural tradition, then converting can be done relatively nicely. And it also helps because the higher your influence over their tradition means that when you are tolerating and accepting other cultures, it makes that cost lower. But yeah, it is. I do think it is a disadvantage to have a small primary culture. 100%. Like that's just a fact. As Wales, if you have if you are trying to accept a culture that is much larger than yours, you're going to have a lot of trouble because it's going to cost a lot of your culture capacity. So either lowering that culture capacity slot by making your culture really quite influential, or making their cultures smaller by assimilating them is the play there. But yeah, appreciate the shout out, Pavia. That's nice. Anyway, moving on. Vassals with Overlord Shade thing. Pavia doesn't like it, but this is what it looks like in the options menu. You can choose subjects losing Overlord's name and color if you so desire. How is the internal MP event? So Hungary is strong. He almost went through a bankruptcy and civil war. That's unfortunate for him. And the Romans vassalized Serbia, and they have a Cold War border in the Balkans. Yeah, like I said, this is being played by Anne Player. So nothing about Galicia Volhynia. No events about Yuri Piast. There is an event chain about his assassination. If the country succeeds in surviving, it may be able to form Ruthenia and get its unique content. Again, I'm not sure what form that content takes, but I'm interested to try and find out. Can we turn Poland and Lithuania into Poland, Lithuania, Ruthenia? Yes, there is in fact an way. And this is what gives you the based flag that I was talking about. But I don't know. I can't read this. I don't know what this means. You need the Cossack Treaty of Hadyak privilege, and PLC needs to be Lithuanian. Something like that. Yeah, it's granted by a PLC event, but yeah, that's how. Someone who can read code can look at that. Finally, why did you not add the Hetmanate and Zafaretian Sikh as formables? So the Zafaretian Sikh is an event that can spawn, a country that can spawn via dynamic historical events. With the ever-increasing influence of the Cossacks within Kiev, the numerous warriors, serfs, and tribes have all slowly migrated into the lands of Zaporizhia. Having constructed several fortifications over the Dnieper, they now intend to make their stay here, hoping for one day to achieve a self-governing status within Kiev. Other nations have well noticed this and are now planning to properly utilize the desperation of this new Sikh, I assume that's how you pronounce it, I don't know, into complete control over the area, and then you can have the Hetmanate of Zaporizhia, which is awesome. That can spawn. Very cool indeed. Very cool indeed. But anyway, that is it for now. Thank you very much for watching. Poland, Lithuania, and I guess Ruthenia as well. Which one of these are you most interested in playing? I think the answer is probably going to be pretty obvious. A lot of you are going to want to be playing Poland. They have the most content of the three of them. And they are like I said, they're a fan favorite, and I think Polish makes up like the 4th or 5th largest demographic on my channel, and probably Paradox Games in general. So yeah, there's a lot of Poles, and you have a pretty nice country that you can play in EU5. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy that. Until next time, though, thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.